Well, how much are you looking for in free agent? I mean, NIL deals. Well, what if they're only willing to pay $250,000? I don't know if they're willing to give $500,000. Call your agent. Sorry about that. Another player has entered the second wave of the portal, and Lane Kiffin's probably doing the Irish jig somewhere in Oxford because he's 100% correct. College football has a free agency. It's just the transfer portal. And much like in the NFL, the major names are the first domino to fall. They're viewed as high-profile figures. They get contract extensions and are viewed as fixtures for teams en route to winning a Super Bowl. It's the same thing just with NIL purposes, but then in wave 2, this is where you finalize your roster. You find areas of weakness that can become a strength, and you add in a player that come November might be the reason you're still in the hunt for the college football playoff instead of wondering what random city will I be playing my bowl game in. And there's a ton of names that are still going to enter the portal in the not so distant future. But for now, we got several high profile figures that are saying, see you later to the SEC and going elsewhere. Let's go ahead and discuss. Welcome on into SEC Filtered. It's Cole Thompson. Make sure you like the video, hit the subscribe button, and comment down below. What is one player you want on your team, and who is one player you cannot stand to see leave your roster? Tell everybody about this channel because we talk SEC football every single day. Download the podcast version of the show on Google Play, Apple Play, iMusic, wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Follow me on social media at Mr. Cole Thompson and my own YouTube channel at Mr. Cole Thompson. Follow us everywhere on social media because we are everywhere at SEC Unfiltered. And for the #1 content surrounding the #1 conference in college athletics, make sure that you visit secunfiltered.com. So the top players in the transfer portal. This is not going to be, I think right now, major names. Yes, there will be, I think, 1 or 2 significant dominoes to fall, i.e. a Damian Martinez type player. But for today, we're only looking at guys who could become difference makers. And yes, several of these players should be able to be plug and play starters regardless of where they go. Now, here's the good news if you are in the SEC. It stinks that your school is losing a player. But unless if they're a grad transfer, they are not sticking around in this conference. They got to go elsewhere to play. So it's a loss, but also not really in terms of you having to face off against a former player. Who are some of the top names? Let's start off in Texas A&M's Jacoby Matthews. Former 4-star talent at defensive back, has some starting experience. Last season played a significant role underneath DJ Durkin's defense and stuck around a little bit for College Station to see what Mike Elko was going to produce. Not really his vibe. He wasn't really clicking with the team. So now he's going to enter the portal and go elsewhere. The 2 schools to pay attention to, Oregon, Florida State. Florida State, we know what they are. They're transfer portal U outside of the SEC because that title belongs easily to Ole Miss. And you've seen the results actually blemish or blossom into monumental ways, but they also feel pretty content at the secondary position, maybe even at safety a little bit. Oregon, they got an ace in the hole. His name, Evan Stewart. Played with A&M last season, was a part of that historic 2022 recruiting class. It would make a lot of sense to go over to the Big Ten. You got to play Big Ten defense. You got a guy like Dan Lanning. He's going to be able to get the best version out of you. Go ahead and be a part of a major conference, and also maybe go ahead and reconnect with the buddy who is probably going to be the #1 receiver in the Big Ten, or flounder and fall apart before we even knew it. Elijah Herring, leading tackler for Tennessee. This was a surprise for a lot of people. I'm not sure that they imagined after last season you were going to be losing a prominent name at that second level of the defense. And to me, this is a major area of concern because now you got to go ahead and add in somebody that you think can replace the production of Herring, and you don't want to see more of a diminished roster. This is a team offensively that should be one of the best in college football, not the SEC. We know how good Josh Heupel's offenses can go and go and go and go and go until you really have to hit red light. And then like in Squid Games, if you don't stop, you're dead in the water. But defensively, there are some major casualties for this team. And there was evident during the spring game. I think that they can be better than what was advertised. Some new players being brought in. The good news is you're not losing James Pierce, but you still want to have a prominent leader up the middle. There's going to be multiple schools interested in him. I'm hearing several ACC schools being potentially interested, a few Big Ten schools. Either way, they're getting a thumper linebacker and somebody that should probably fill a gap immediately for a team that definitely needs that second level of the defense when it primarily comes to the run. Arkansas's Andrew Chamblee. Here's the good news if you are an SEC team. He's out of the SEC, so Taylor Green is going to be wide open in that backfield. It could be a turnstile on the offensive line. 8 starts last season, was supposed to be one of the more prominent offensive linemen. He's saying, Bobby Petrino, I'm not going to crash and burn in Fayetteville this year. I'm going to go elsewhere. I don't believe it's going to happen, actually, but never say never. He's got some visits set up. The 2 major schools that you want to be paying attention to right now is Kansas State and Virginia Tech. The other school that is getting a lot of attention, and they need to be paying attention to this one because of this is going to be the new norm of college football, SMU and the ACC. I think people forget that SMU is one of those programs that at one point was the most dominant school in all of college athletics. And then the death penalty came and the pony excess ceased to exist. They put them back in the stables, but now they're in a Power 4 conference. Now they have NIL at their disposal. And what they were doing back in the 80s when they were paying players, it's legal. And this is a team that has resources beyond belief. If you've never been to Dallas, Texas, let me explain. We make jokes all the time about the cult that lives in College Station and the oil money that is rich throughout the East Texas land. It's very rich in Dallas. And when you have a fierce amount of alumni wanting to see your team be a college football playoff contender, it's going to make a lot of sense. Andrew Chamblee is going to be a prominent name. I would not be shocked to see him go to the Big 12 and honestly crush it at Kansas State. But I am definitely keeping my eye out on everything that happens in Dallas right now when it comes to the future, primarily of anybody in SMU's reign. Speaking of which, I'm always looking out for RHOBACK. Now, why am I bringing up RHOBACK? Well, for starters, have you heard of them? Have you seen their products? Do you understand how comfortable you feel every time that you put on a performance polo or a hoodie or a short? They feel great and they're the best fit for you because they're form-fitting around your body. You don't look fat. You don't look bad. In fact, you look dressed to the nine. But most of all, their performance polos are great and they're wonderful for the summer months. We know that we have barbecues coming up. We got to celebrate America's birthday, and there's going to be some days out on the lake as we prepare for fall camp and week 1. The one thing I don't want to deal with is back sweat, primarily when I'm playing golf. On the back nine, I already know my backswing is awful, but my back sweat is being contained. The main reason why? I'm wearing a performance polo hoodie from RHOBACK. So if you want to go ahead and check out all of their fine gear, make sure you visit RHOBACK.com, RHOBACK. Use the promo code SECU for everything that you could want off the performance polos, hoodies, shorts, whatever you see, 20% off on your very first purchase through the end of the week. Performance polo hoodies, you want it. Say it 3 times fast. I promise you it's harder than you can imagine. Just by using SECU as the promo code, 20% off your very first purchase. Georgia's Andrew Paul. This is kind of a blundering move, not really surprising. You look at that running back room, there was no chance for him to scoot and boogie. He was never going to see the field, at least when it came to without an injury. The concern for Georgia has nothing to do with right now. The concern for Georgia is what happens if we are to lose a prominent running back, say in mid-October. And now we have to play a daunting part of our schedule, and we're playing in a neutral site location against Florida, and maybe their defense looks more improved. Well, if that's going to be the case, we have got to have somebody in the backfield. Paul would have made a lot of sense. He's going to get a lot of interest, I think, from ACC schools, probably some schools in the group of 5 level. I would not be shocked to see him maybe go ahead and rejoin forces with Del McGee down in Georgia State. He doesn't leave. In fact, the Devil goes down to Georgia State, and he, instead of playing the fiddle, plays his way into the conversation for all Sun Belt honors. I'm very excited to see what a guy like Andrew Paul can bring at a smaller institution. Ole Miss, I know, I forgot the word, my apologies. Keyshawn Lawrence. So this brought headlines in yesterday, and this is why sometimes let information all unwind, guys. We don't need to be the first conclusion. In fact, I can just tell you right now, there are so many people that live and reside on the internet. They don't care about being factually correct. They care about being factually first. And so they'll switch things up. Because all we heard yesterday was Key Lawrence. That defensive back that just transferred over from Oklahoma and was talking about how excited it was to be in a place he felt was home. Yeah, now he's entering the portal. No, he's not, because it's the other guy, the walk-on linebacker that now is going to have an opportunity to probably earn a scholarship elsewhere. If he gets a preferred walk-on, maybe he gets on scholarship with that team come the end of the semester. But this is the guy who I think can be somewhat of a relevant linebacker when it comes to sub packages. He's somebody that probably can find his way onto the field in a different capacity at a group of 5 level. You bet on yourself. You were able to go ahead and impress some people when it came to what you present in the SEC. maybe that's enough to offer you something when it comes to an NIL deal, or at least a better institution for you to be able to take flight. One more for you, Raymond Cottrell. This is one that was a little shocking to me, but here's the main thing that really bothers me. Now you're looking at Kentucky. They got to go ahead and add in another wide receiver. Now, I don't believe that they're going to be falling that far off the face of the earth. I love the fact they were able to go get Jamori Macklin from what's it called last year? From North Texas last year. I still think that they feel pretty confident in what's working with Brock Vandagriff underneath Bush Handman. Doesn't mean that they're going to be all elite players, but keep in mind, you still have several prominent wide receivers. Dane Key coming back for another year. You also still have on the roster Tavion Robinson. Not Tavion Robinson. My apologize. I know I messed that up. Baron Brown is still on the roster. So you feel good. Barryon Brown. My apologies. I like where this team is. And I think that so far, you're going to be fine, but it would have been nice to have a vertical threat. This was a guy that last season when he was at Texas A&M made 2 highlight plays of 20-plus yards downfield. You see the arm cannon that is attached to the shoulder up Brock Vandagriff. You want to have someone downfield to make those type of highlight plays. Whatever, so be it. Not that big of a problem. At the end of the day, got to do what's best for him. I believe he will probably end up going to a group of 5 school, probably somewhere in the American Athletic Conference, maybe even the Sun Belt. Wouldn't be surprised to maybe see him go join forces with John Summerall down at Tulane. This is not a report. This is just what I think feels like a good fit overall. Make sure that you like the video, comment down below who is one player that you don't want to see leave your school in the next several days. Make sure that you're following this platform, and also hit the subscribe button because we talk college football about the #1 conference in the SEC every single day. Follow me on social media at Mr. Cole Thompson. Follow me on my own YouTube channel at Mr. Cole Thompson. Follow us on social media at SEC Unfiltered, and to keep up with the #1 content surrounding the #1 conference in all of college athletics, make sure that you visit SECUnfiltered.com. I'm Cole Thompson. Until next time, folks. Later.